Hello, everybody, and welcome to Be the Wolf. Today, I want to talk to you about something that every single entrepreneur experiences, every human experiences, and nobody understands how much this actually affects your business. And it affects your business because it affects your long-term results, not your short-term results. I'm going to talk to you today about the number one thing that will cause you to make short-term decisions, and therefore it sabotages your long-term results. We often don't see what it affects. So let me give you a metaphor to break this down. So nobody's ever aware when the government is doing a good job. They're not thinking about the government. Everything just seems to be working and people are taken care of, their lives are running smoothly. And that's because the government has been in that situation, has been making good long-term decisions. So the tail of whatever decisions they've been making are creating positive results. But everybody's aware of when the government's doing a bad job. And that's because the tail of whatever their decisions are is creating negative results for the people. And this usually happens because people are constantly putting out fires and they're thinking only short term and not long term. So this is the same in business. And so the number one thing that will cause you to make short-term decisions and sabotage your long-term results. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about stress. Yeah, let's all take a deep breath and just release a little bit of that stress that I know you're carrying. So let's just do it. Breathe in. And slowly breathe out. One more time. Okay. And so the reason I have you do that is because when you are stressed, it's difficult to really understand and hear information in a new way. And in order for you to make changes in your life, you need to hear things in a way that you haven't heard them before. So if you are learning something new, you always want to do it, if it's possible, in a way where you're at ease, where you're not feeling stressed. So let me talk to you about what stress really is. All stress, and I mean all of it, comes from a feeling of lack. If you didn't have a feeling of lack, you wouldn't feel stressed. So it could be that you feel like there's not enough money, not enough time. You're afraid you're going to lose something. That's future lack. You've already lost something. So that is current lack. And that could result in sadness. Sadness is a form of stress. Anxiety, obviously, is a form of stress. Fear is a form of stress. All those negative emotions where you feel contracted in your body is a form of stress. So going back again, that all stress comes from lack. It could be a lack of skills. You might worry that you don't have the right skills, the right knowledge, a lack of effectiveness of a strategy. It's not working. So you feel stressed. It's a lack of effectiveness or a lack of the monetary results you were hoping for. Could be in relationships, lack of communication, lack of connection. And so you start to worry, like, am I going to lose this person? Again, you're thinking about lack. So all stress is a result of lack. And our brains are wired to notice lack. This is how we survive. If we notice that there is a lack of resources in the valley that we were living in as hunter and gatherers, we would know that we would need to move on so that we would survive and not run out of food. And so that predisposition to notice lack is so that we survive. It's why we call it survival mode. When you're stressed out, you're in survival mode. But a lot of people, especially entrepreneurs, they don't really truly ever feel at ease. It could be that hint of shoulder tension that you always feel, or maybe you clench your jaw a lot. And those are signs that you're feeling stress. Again, a lot of entrepreneurs have this underlying sense of lack or stress happening all of the time. And a lot of times this comes from way back when, like you've always kind of felt some lack. If you're a person who felt like you were not enough, or if you grew up and you were feeling anxious about how everybody had more than you, then you probably have had this sense of lack in your system all of the time, and you've been running with at least a low grade stress at all times. And this is why when you try to take time off, you can't, because you're thinking about work and you're feeling like you need to be doing something. And that's because you're feeling that stress, that lack, that feeling of lack. There's a joke that I used to tell, and I'll rework it a little bit to illustrate this point, but it is a perfect example. So there are 3 dogs, and each dog is given a massive pile of bones. It's like winning the lottery. You have a stressed out entrepreneur dog, a Zen architect dog, and a peaceful accountant dog. Well, the Zen architect dog, he builds a house out of his bones and he structures it so that he can be continuously satisfied for as long as possible, eating one bone at a time as he feels the need. The peaceful accountant dog, well, he calculates and figures out how to ration his so that he will be continuously satisfied for as long as possible. Now, both of these dogs are thinking in long-term solutions. But that stressed out entrepreneur dog, what does he do? He eats all the bones and then he goes to the pet store and tries to convince them to give him credit so he can get more bones. So this is just to illustrate this point of you think short term when you're stressed out because your system is in survival mode and you're trying to think about what needs to happen now to get out of the feeling of lack. So the entrepreneur dog, the stressed out entrepreneur dog, was feeling stressed even though he had a mountain of bones. And this is what happens to a lot of people when they're running with that stress all of the time. You ever have that moment where you're like, okay, I'm going to take a day off? As a stressed out entrepreneur, this is a rare thing. But so you're like, okay, I'm going to take a day off so that I can go to Sally Mae's party. And then that day comes and you wake up sick and you can't go to the party. It's because your brain is like, oh, there's a day off. She'll be safe on that day. But we know her and she's going to go to that party and run herself ragged and keep going, going, going. How do we make sure that she catches up and gets the rest her body desperately needs before she starts running again? And it will make you sick. So if you're a person who's been a workaholic and then you take a day off and you get sick, and you had it planned ahead of time that that was your day off, if that's something that's happened to you more than 3 times in your life, you can pretty much guarantee that this is what's at play. If your nervous system has been overloaded for so long, your brain is going to do things to try and make you rest because it's trying to always create some sort of homeostasis. And so it will push you when the stress is really high, but when it's just regular stress, it will try and shut you down. This is one of the reasons people procrastinate. So it will cause you to do this yo-yo. You will go, 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 go. You'll be crazy productive. And then on the other side of it, you'll be super slothy, or you'll do something silly like get really drunk and you're too hungover to do the work the next day. But that slothy, that lethargy that comes from your brain trying to keep you in some sort of homeostasis because you just ran rampant, it doesn't come with enjoyment. So when your nervous system is balanced and you actually take the space to rest and relax, you get to enjoy it. But when your nervous system has been in survival mode for so long and you've been running crazy, you're resting, but you're feeling guilty and you're feeling like you need to be doing something. And so that amps up the anxiety, which just perpetuates the stress. It's a vicious cycle. So, when we're talking about making those short-term decisions versus the long-term decisions are the ones where you get up and you work on that thing consistently that's going to take you maybe 6 months to build out. It's gonna take you a long time to complete, but you work on it consistently, and that's a long-term decision. You're not waiting until the last minute. That's a short-term decision. Waiting till the last minute is like, "I have to get this done because the consequences will be way too big." And a lot of people say that they can only focus when they leave things till the last minute, and that's because they have to focus. Their brain can't wander off and think about lack. So it's focused because it's so stressed out. And if you had a saber-toothed tiger running after you, you would be very focused on tracking for the cave that's going to keep you safe. Yes. So when you are in this procrastination, leaving things till the last minute cycle, your brain is focused on looking for the cave and it doesn't see anything else because it feels like you have a saber-toothed tiger running after you. So you can handle it and make the decision, but you're only trying to do enough to get yourself safe, to get to that cave so that the saber-toothed tiger cannot get you. Now you make, get ready for this, 35,000 decisions a day. The average person makes 35,000 decisions a day. And when you feel lack, you are automatically going to make short-term decisions instead of long-term decisions. You are focused on that instant gratification. You are focused on getting safe from the saber-toothed tiger, on getting out of lack. So that's all that you can focus on. And when you're focused on lack, you're gonna get more lack. It's just the nature of the beast. You get what you focus on. If you are a downhill skier and you are going through a place where there's a lot of trees, you don't start focusing on the trees, which essentially would be the lack, the thing that you don't want. You focus on the path. You say to yourself, stay on the path, stay on the path. You don't say, don't hit the trees, don't hit the trees. If you say to yourself, don't hit the trees, then you're going to hit the trees. So when your brain is focused on lack or you're worried about what you're going to lose or any of that, when you're feeling stress, your brain is saying, don't hit the trees, don't hit the trees, don't hit the trees. And so what are you going to do? You're going to hit the trees. So the other thing that you need to know that's really important when you're feeling stressed, yes, you're going to make short-term decisions. You're going to make instant gratification decisions, but you also cannot access the creative part of your brain. It is physically impossible. When you feel stressed, all your brain is focused on is getting out of lack. So you can't access any new information that would give you the capacity to do something new. If you've hit a plateau, or you're trying to break through and get to a new level, what got you there is not going to get you to the next level. If it would, you would have already broken through. Once you hit a plateau or like a yo-yo up and down where you just kind of keep creating the same cycle, once you do that, when you're stressed, you are never going to get out of that cycle until you can get yourself out of stress, make your decisions from a neutral or expansive place. And here's the kicker: you have to stick to those decisions, no matter how much your brain tries to talk you out of them, because your brain is trying to keep you where you are because it knows that you're safe enough, that you're alive. It doesn't know what's on the other side of the unknown. And so doing something new is out of the question when you feel stressed. It's like when you make a decision to buy into a new program or you sign up with a coach and you sign the contract, you send the money, and then the next day you're like, did I make the right decision? I don't know. Because your brain is all of a sudden feeling unsafe. You're focused on, oh, I just spent $10,000 on this thing. And is it going to give me what I want? So you start focusing on the lack. I just lost $10,000, but you can't see the long term of what you're going to gain. And that's where the magic is when you invest in something that's worthwhile and has great value, is that you're investing in something you can't see. And that requires your creative brain to be able to see where you're going. And as soon as you get stressed, and as soon as you start thinking about your lack, your brain will shut down and think that it's a bad decision. So you've got to get your nervous system out of that fight and flight, out of that survival mode. Because when your nervous system is constantly in that fight and flight, like if you can't take a day off without feeling stressed out about what you should be doing, that's a good sign that your nervous system is in perpetual survival mode. And you're riding, if you're not already there, you're riding the edge of burnout. And burnout happens when your nervous system is so shot that you can't actually rest, that your downtime is filled still with stress. Even when everything is going smoothly, you'll start looking for the problem. You start looking and creating problems that don't even exist. When your nervous system is in that perpetual fight and flight, survival mode, and you can't take a day off without feeling like you should be working, that's a good sign that you're going to start creating problems where none actually exist. So you'll freak out. You're like, well, maybe I need to change my marketing, even though you haven't even let your marketing run long enough to collect metrics. So you'll change your marketing. And then what do? You end up screwing it up and creating more lack in your business. Remember, you're focused on the trees instead of the path to ski down the hill smoothly. So when you can't just let things ride, that's a sign that you are in survival mode and your stress has gotten out of control. And the other thing, the other feeling is when you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop. When things are going well, but you're just constantly on edge, waiting for everything to fall apart. It's another sign that you're in perpetual survival mode, riding the edge of burnout if you're not already there. Now, when you feel at ease, you can dream. You can take those steps to do the long-term stuff. You'll run that new marketing plan and you'll just let it ride so you can collect the metrics. And in the meantime, instead of freaking out about it, what you do instead is you start working on the next project that might take you 3 months to complete and get ready to launch. But it's easy. You can work on it consistently because your nervous system feels safe. You feel at ease. You're not riding that stress road. Now, if you've been running in that overdrive, you're going to have to retrain your brain to understand that you're safe. And that's going to come with some discomfort. And because your brain is constantly thinking like, oh my gosh, it's focused on the lack. It's like, and it's going to find those things. It's going to find problems where there are none. But it's going to be up to you to hold back and be like, everything is fine. Everything is fine. You have to retrain your brain to understand that you're safe. Now, you can work with somebody like me to rewire your brain. You can work with, there's a lot of people who work on nervous system regulation. But I want to share with you the simplest and one of the most effective ways that you can do this. And it's free. So, what you want to do, and if you've been in that overdrive mode, this is not going to be easy. It sounds simple, but it's not going to be easy. You're going to sit with your eyes closed in the silence. Work your way up to an hour. You may start with 5 minutes. You may do 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I started with 20 and it was excruciating way back when. I worked my way up to 2 hours a day for a couple of years. But what this does, you're going to have sensations happen in your body. Don't worry about like meditating and clearing your mind. Don't worry about any of that shit. Because if you're at that place where your nervous system is overloaded like that, that's the last thing you need to worry about. If your brain during this time just wants to run and spin and think about all the things you have to do, like that's fine. Just let it. Oftentimes after about 40 minutes, that's why I say do an hour, after about 40, 45 minutes, if your nervous system is amped up like that, then you will have a moment of peace or you'll have some breakthrough. But what's going to happen during this time is you might feel anxious. You might feel stressed out. You might feel other sensations. You might feel heat rise from the body. You might get the urge to shake a little bit. If any of that happens, just let it. And your brain is going to try to make you move or convince you to get up right before those sensations happen. What's happening in those moments is that some old emotions, some stress emotions from the past are coming up, some old fears, and they're coming up to release out of the body. It is literally just a chemical response from your brain that's been locked in your body and it's trying to release. And the more of these things that you can release, the calmer your nervous system will be, because what it's been doing, it's been trying to pivot you away from feeling those sensations because it thinks that you're going to die. It thinks that whatever created that situation is going to kill you. It's like the saber-toothed tiger running after you. So it's been running and running and running from those sensations, those chemical responses that are still trapped in your body. These are old, unprocessed emotions. And it's trying to make you run away from them because it thinks you can't handle them. And so it's like it thinks of them as the saber-toothed tiger. So all you have to do is sit through them. And I promise you, as long as you know that it's just old stuff releasing, the sensation's going to last 1 to 2 minutes. So if it's really uncomfortable, you just tell yourself, I can sit through this for 2 minutes. I can totally sit through this for 2 minutes. I am here in my house, sitting on my chair, sitting on my bed. I am safe and I can sit through this for 2 minutes, and just keep doing that until you get to the other side of the sensation. And that's really important. Even if your allotted time is up, you want to get to the other side of the sensation. Otherwise, you're going to be subconsciously agitated and trying to run away from it the rest of the day. So you want to get to the other side of the sensation. And the more those sensations you process and sit through, the more your brain will believe that you're safe. And so that's the cheapest, one of the most effective ways that you can start to rewire your brain and get yourself out of survival mode and get yourself out of that stress. Of course, there are faster ways, more effective ways, and usually you'll want to work with somebody to do that. So If you need extra help beyond the just sitting still, and you can listen to ambient music too, by the way, but if you need extra help, you can reach out and find somebody to work with. You can get on my mailing list by grabbing my free guide. And that's a great way if you're thinking, like, maybe Genea is the person that I want to work with. But grab my free guide, whether you want to work with me or not, because I talk more deeply about lack and I give you another tool to be able to deal with it. You can grab this at bethewolfgift.com. It's the 3 secrets the business gurus never talk about. It talks about how to grow your business and love doing it. And you can grab that again at bethewolfgift.com. Open up your browsers. Do it now, because you all deserve to have less stress in your life. And even if you're just a little stressed out, the tool in there will be really good for you. So, thank you all for listening. I hope you all have ease and peace for the rest of your day. And remember, everybody, when you unleash the power of you, you nourish humanity, you evolve the world. And we'll see you next time on Be the Wolf. Bye, everyone.